The coffee tastes like recycled engine coolant again. Third cup. Still tastes like death. But the caffeine substitute keeps my secondary nervous system firing. So here we are, documenting another day in paradise while my claws tap Morse code against this dented metal desk. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm helps me think. Helps me focus on details that matter instead of the 67 ways this assignment could kill me before breakfast. The human stands 3 meters away. R has been standing there for 14 minutes and 37 seconds. Hasn't moved. Hasn't blinked more than the biological minimum. Just watches me through that ridiculous transparent barrier the engineers insisted would contain potential threats. Tap, tap, tap. Threat. Right. I've read the briefings, studied the intercepted transmissions, and analyzed the battlefield footage from Kepler 442b, where an entire hegemony battalion got carved up by 12 human soldiers who should have been dead after the first orbital bombardment. Should have been. Weren't. The humans call it Tuesday. Tap, tap, tap. But looking at this one, I understand why Command has me running behavioral analysis instead of threat assessment. Because this human doesn't look like the nightmare fuel from the combat reports. She looks like something pulled from the sacred art galleries of High Zeftar. Golden hair catches the overhead lighting, falls in perfect waves past her shoulders. Skin smooth as polished Karemian crystal. Eyes the color of deep space nebulae, shifting between blue and green like stellar gases in gravitational flux. Beautiful doesn't cover it. She's the kind of beautiful that makes you forget to breathe. Makes you wonder if your species got something fundamentally wrong in their evolutionary priorities. Makes you ask questions about aesthetics that probably violate several theological doctrines. Tap, tap, tap. And she knows I'm looking. Knows I'm cataloging every detail like a xenobiologist studying some impossible fusion of art and biology. She hasn't said a word, but there's something in the way she holds herself. Patient, amused, like she's waiting for me to figure out the punchline. I'm Officer Zekthara. Her voice carries through the intercom with perfect clarity. No accent I can place. No vocal patterns from any human dialect in our databases. I fumble for the response button, nearly knock over the coffee. Yes, that's... How do you know my name? A smile. Small. Controlled. Your nameplate is facing me. Right. Of course. The nameplate. Because I'm a professional intelligence officer with 17 years of experience who definitely doesn't get flustered by prisoners of war. Tap, tap, tap. You've been assigned for behavioral observation, I say, finding my rhythm again. Standard protocol for first contact scenarios, nothing personal. I know. The containment unit is for mutual protection. Atmospheric differences, potential pathogens. I know. Her eyes track the movement of my claws against the desk. 3 taps. Pause. Knock 3 taps. Pause. Nervous habit? She asks. Heat spreads up my neck ridges. Focus mechanism. Helps with pattern recognition and analytical thinking. She tilts her head slightly. Studies me like I'm the specimen behind glass. What patterns are you recognizing? Everything about this conversation feels wrong. Backwards. I should be asking the questions. She should be answering them. Basic interrogation protocol. But somehow she's steering. And I'm following like a first-year cadet on their maiden deployment. Tap, tap, tap. You don't look like the others, I say finally. Others? The humans from the combat footage. They looked... I search for diplomatic phrasing. More functional, utilitarian design, built for war. Her smile widens just a fraction. And I don't look built for war? You look built for completely different purposes. Wrong thing to say. The words hang in the recycled air like a confession. Like I just admitted something that violates professional boundaries and possibly several interspecies conduct regulations. She doesn't react. Just keeps watching me with those impossible eyes. Tell me about your armor, I try, shifting to safer ground. Standard intelligence gathering. Technical specifications. What about it? I gesture toward the sleek black suit that hugs her frame. Not bulky like standard military gear. Not bristling with obvious weapons or defensive systems. Mine just smooth lines and integrated technology that flows like a second skin. Integration patterns, power sources, defensive capabilities, standard technical assessment questions. Standard questions. She nods slowly. For a standard prisoner. You are a prisoner. Enemy combatant captured during the Kepler engagement. These are standard protocols. Yes, standard. Tap, tap, tap. Something in her tone makes my secondary nervous system fire warning signals. I'd like standing too close to a plasma conduit. That electric feeling right before the discharge. You disagree with the classification? I ask. I find human hegemony relations more complex than your protocols suggest. Complex how? She moves then. First time since I've been watching her. Steps closer to the barrier. Close enough that I can see individual motes of light reflecting in her eyes. Close enough to notice the way her armor responds to movement, flowing rather than articulating, or like liquid metal given form. Would it help your analysis if I told you my name? That, yes. Names are useful for establishing baseline identity frameworks. Dr. Elena Vasquez, medical specialist, 1st Human Expeditionary Force. Doctor. The combat reports never mentioned medical personnel. Never mentioned doctors being part of human military operations. Only soldiers. Warriors. Things that kill for a living. Tap, tap, tap. Ja, medical specialist doesn't align with our intelligence profiles, I say carefully. Human military doctrine emphasizes combat effectiveness over support personnel in forward operations. Does it? According to our analysis. And what does your analysis suggest about medical specialists? I pull up the relevant files on my terminal. Scan through xenobiological assessments and cultural studies. Non-combatant status, healing specialization, pacifist tendencies by professional necessity, in a limited threat potential. Limited threat potential, she repeats, like she's tasting the words. Yes, medical professionals prioritize preservation of life over tactical objectives. Basic career psychology. She laughs. Not mockery, not derision. Something else. Something that makes my claws stop their tapping. Officer Zekathera, she says, and there's warmth in her voice now. Genuine warmth. You think I'm beautiful? Heat floods my system. Defense mechanisms kick in. Its professional protocols scream for immediate deflection. Aesthetic appreciation doesn't impact analytical objectivity, I stammer. Physical characteristics are noted for identification purposes only. Standard observational requirements. You think I'm beautiful? She says again, quieter. And you think that means I'm safe. Something cold settles in my primary stomach. I think you're classified as a medical non-combatant with limited tactical value. Yes. Her smile returns, but different now, sharper. You do. She reaches up with both hands, grasps something at the base of her neck that I hadn't noticed. Some kind of interface port hidden beneath her hair. Elena, I start, and I don't know why I'm using her name instead of her designation. What are you? Click. A sound like magnetism disengaging. Like seals breaking. Like something fundamental coming undone. Her face changes. Not dramatically. Not like some shape-shifting nightmare from bad science fiction. Just changes. The bones underneath shift slightly. The muscle structure becomes more pronounced. The soft curves that spoke of art and beauty reorganize into lines that speak of function and purpose. Still her face. Still recognizably human. But not the same human. Tap, 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 tap. My claws find their rhythm again, but faster now. Urgent. Facial reconstruction technology, I breathe. Cosmetic enhancement systems. Among other things. She flexes her shoulders, and the armor responds. Not flowing like liquid anymore, articulating, expanding, revealing hard points and weapon mounts that were invisible moments ago. Dr. Elena Vasquez, she says, and her voice carries differently now. Still warm, but with an edge underneath, like steel wrapped in silk. Medical specialist, trauma surgery, combat medicine, battlefield triage. The barrier between us suddenly feels very thin. And psychological warfare, she adds. I specialize in psychological warfare. Tap, 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 tap. My claws can't find the right rhythm anymore. Can't find anything that makes sense. The beauty, I manage. The aesthetic enhancement. It's tactical. Everything is tactical, Zekthara. My name sounds different in her voice now. More intimate. More dangerous. Beauty is a weapon. Attraction is a tool. Trust is a vulnerability. She steps back from the barrier. The armor completes its transformation, on revealing integrated weapon systems and defensive capabilities that put our standard military gear to shame. But here's what you need to understand about human medical specialists, she says, checking something on her wrist display. We don't just heal people. The lights in the containment unit flicker. Red warning indicators start flashing on my console. We study anatomy. We understand exactly how bodies work. Another flicker. This time the barrier wavers, which means we understand exactly how to break them. Emergency protocol engaged. Containment breach. Imminent. The computer's voice fills the observation chamber as Elena's fingers dance across hidden controls in her armor. Controls that shouldn't exist. Technology that our scans somehow missed. Elena, I say, reaching for the emergency alarm. Dr. Vasquez, whatever you're planning, I'm not planning anything, officer. She looks up at me through the flickering barrier, and her smile is gentle again, beautiful again. I'm just being myself. The barrier fails. And you thought I was beautiful, she says, stepping into my space with liquid grace. You don't know what lies beneath the armor. Tap, tap, tap. My claws have gone silent. End personal log entry 1847. File classification, urgent, command review required. Note, Officer Zekthara's subsequent logs have been sealed pending investigation. She could have killed me. Should have killed me, saw by every tactical assessment model in our databases. Human medical specialist, revealed weapons, failed containment, isolated enemy officer. Clean solution, eliminate the witness. Instead, she handed me a cup of coffee. Real coffee. Not the recycled engine coolant from our dispensers, but something that actually tastes like the beverage descriptions in the cultural files. Rich, complex, warm in ways that have nothing to do with temperature. Tap, tap, tap. I'm still alive, still at my desk. I still documenting what might be the most significant intelligence breakthrough of the war, or the most elaborate psychological operation ever deployed against hegemony forces. Elena sits in my chair now. She didn't ask, didn't demand, just walked around the containment unit's wreckage and settled behind my terminal like she belonged there. Like this was always her office and I was the visitor. Your security protocols are interesting, she says, Sa's fingers dancing across my keyboard with impossible familiarity. 17 layers of encryption, but they're all based on mathematical principles. Mathematical? Like that's somehow insufficient. Mathematics are universal, I manage. Logical foundation for all technological development. She tilts her head, studying code that took our best cryptographers 3 years to develop. Humans see patterns differently. How differently? Instead of answering, she turns the monitor toward me. My secure access, the one that requires biological verification, temporal sequencing, and command authorization, sits open like someone left the door unlocked. I didn't break your encryption, she says casually. I just approached it from a direction your programmers never considered. Tap, tap, tap. My claws find their rhythm again, but quieter now, like they're afraid of drawing attention. What direction? Emotional logic. There's no such thing as emotional logic. Or logic is logic. Emotions are biochemical responses to external stimuli. She laughs, and the sound fills my cramped office with something warmer than the recycled atmosphere. Zekthara, she says, and again my name sounds different in her voice. You've been watching me for 3 hours. What have you learned? Standard debrief question. I should have an answer. Should have observational data and preliminary behavioral assessments ready for command review. Instead, I have questions. Yam, I've learned that nothing in our intelligence profiles is accurate, I say finally. Human military doctrine doesn't match observed behavior. Technical capabilities exceed estimated parameters. Cultural assumptions appear to be fundamentally flawed. Good start. She swivels in my chair, those impossible eyes tracking my movement as I pace the narrow space between my desk and the wall. What else? You're not what you pretend to be. Neither are you. The words stop my pacing cold. I'm exactly what I appear to be. Intelligence officer, career military, standard hegemony citizen following standard protocols. Are you? She stands, moves toward me with that liquid grace I noticed before. Close enough to see the way her armor has reconfigured itself again. Less weapon platform, more form-fitting environment suit. Civilian appearance. Non-threatening. Deceptive. You've been drumming that Morse code pattern for 17 minutes, she says. Same 3-tap sequence. Yeah, I want to know what it spells out. Tap, tap, tap. My claws freeze mid-rhythm. It spells help, she continues gently. Over and over. Help, help, help. Like a distress signal you're not even conscious of sending. Heat spreads up my neck ridges. Defense mechanisms slam into place. Subconscious motor functions don't indicate distress states. Physical habits develop through repetition and environmental conditioning, not psychological stress responses. Zekthara. Something in her tone makes me look up. Meet those eyes that shift between blue and green like stellar phenomena. When was the last time you slept? The question hits like unexpected decompression, sudden and disorienting. Sleep schedules are adjusted for operational requirements. Current assignment demands extended observation periods. That's not what I asked. Tap, tap, tap. 47 hours, I admit. Standard stimulant protocols maintain cognitive function for extended periods. 47 hours. She processes this information with the same careful attention she applied to my security systems. And before this assignment? Before this assignment was the Kepler analysis. 72 hours of continuous briefing review. And before that? Memory becomes fuzzy. Stimulants help with immediate focus, but create gaps in long-term retention. Rigel incident debrief. Andromeda Border Patrol analysis. The Proxima Cultural Study. How long since you've had actual leave time? The question shouldn't be difficult. Military personnel receive regulated rest periods, standard protocol. But I can't remember the last time I wasn't working. Can't remember the last time I slept more than 3 hours at a stretch. Can't remember the last time someone asked me if I was okay. Tap, tap, tap. This is psychological manipulation, I say, but the words lack conviction. No, classic interrogation technique. Build rapport, establish trust, exploit emotional vulnerabilities. Yes, Elena agrees. It is. The admission should trigger every defensive protocol in my training. Should activate threat response systems and emergency procedures. Instead, it feels like relief. But that doesn't make it untrue, she continues. You're exhausted, Zekthera. Overworked. Running on chemical stimulants and professional obligation. When was the last time anyone in your chain of command asked how you were doing? I consider the questions seriously. Review my interactions with superior officers over the past months, years, performance metrics, mission assignments, technical assessments, status reports, never personal welfare checks, never concern for anything beyond operational effectiveness. The hegemony military prioritizes mission success over individual comfort, I say. Personal needs are subordinate to operational requirements. And that's working well for you? I gesture around my cramped office. At the empty coffee cups and the flickering displays and the stack of analysis reports that never seems to get smaller. I serve with honor, contribute meaningfully to military objectives, fulfill my obligations to the hegemony and its citizens. That's not what I asked. Tap, tap, tap. She's right. Again, the pattern continues, her asking real questions while I provide official answers. Like we're speaking different languages that happen to use the same words. You want to know about human military doctrine? Elena says, settling back into my chair. About how we approach warfare and conflict resolution. Yes, that's my assignment. It starts with taking care of our people. She pulls something from her armor, a small device that projects a three-dimensional display into the space between us. Images appear, humans in military gear, but not the combat footage from our intelligence files. These humans are laughing, sharing meals, helping each other with equipment maintenance, caring for each other. Every human military unit is built around a single principle, Elena explains, as the images cycle through scenes of camaraderie and mutual support. No one fights alone. No one suffers alone. No one dies alone. The images shift to show medical facilities. Humans in white coats, doctors like Elena, working to heal soldiers who've been injured in combat, but also humans in uniform working to heal each other's minds, talking, listening, sharing burdens that aren't physical. We don't separate personal welfare from operational effectiveness, she continues, because they're the same thing. A soldier who feels abandoned fights differently than a soldier who knows their squad has their back. The projection shows human combat footage now, but different from what I've seen before. Instead of individual heroics or superior technology, it shows coordination, teamwork, humans risking themselves to protect each other. Your intelligence analysts got it backwards, Elena says. They assumed human military success came from individual capability, enhanced physiology, superior equipment, tactical innovation. The images cycle faster. Battle scenes where humans accomplish impossible objectives not through superior firepower, but through perfect coordination and absolute trust. But that's not how we work. Human soldiers are dangerous because we're never really fighting as individuals. Every human you face is fighting for every other human in their unit, and every human in their unit is fighting for them. She closes the projection. The office returns to standard lighting, but somehow feels smaller now. More cramped. More lonely. The doctor you captured on Kepler 442b, I say slowly. Yes, she wasn't non-combatant medical personnel. No, she was part of the tactical team. Essential part. Every human military operation includes medical specialists, not as support personnel, but as integrated combat assets. Tap, tap, tap. Because you heal your wounded in battle. Because we refuse to abandon our people, Elena corrects. Ever. Under any circumstances. Human military doctrine is built around that absolute principle. The implications hit like gravitational waves. I am disrupting everything I thought I understood about human capabilities. The 12 soldiers who destroyed our battalion, I say, they weren't just superior fighters. They were fighting for each other, and they knew that no matter what happened, no one would be left behind. Even the medical personnel. Especially the medical personnel, because doctors know exactly how much damage a body can take and still keep fighting. How to keep soldiers functional even when they should be dead. Elena stands, moves to the small viewport that shows the star field outside our ship. The same stars I've been staring at for days without really seeing. Your command structure is built on hierarchy and individual performance metrics, she says without turning around. Ours is built on mutual support and collective responsibility. I struggle for the right words. That's operationally inefficient. Command authority becomes distributed. Decision-making gets complicated by emotional considerations. Does it? She turns back toward me, and her expression has shifted again. Still beautiful, but now I can see the steel underneath. The uncompromising strength that our intelligence analysts missed. Zekathara, how many hegemony officers would risk their careers to protect a subordinate? The question hangs in the recycled air like an accusation. Because I know the answer. Few. Very few. And career advancement depends on performance metrics and superior approval. Individual success, not collective welfare. And how many would risk their lives? Fewer. And how many would disobey direct orders to avoid abandoning wounded personnel? Almost none. Tap, tap, tap. You're describing military inefficiency, I say, but the words sound hollow even to me. Emotional decision-making compromises tactical objectivity. Is it inefficient? Elena asks. Because from where I'm standing, our human forces have achieved victory ratios that your analysts consider mathematically impossible. She's right. The combat reports don't lie. 12 humans against a battalion. 43 humans against a fleet. Victory margins that should be impossible according to our models. But only if you assume humans fight as individuals. Dr. Vasquez, I say carefully. Elena, what happens now? Now? She checks something on her wrist display. Easy, now you learn what lies beneath the armor. Before I can ask what she means, alarms start screaming throughout the ship. Red lights flash. Emergency protocols activate. And Elena smiles like someone who's been expecting this all along. Personal log entry. 1,848 terminated. Emergency alert, hull breach. Detected, multiple locations. All personnel report to emergency stations. The coffee cup sits exactly where she left it. Still warm, still perfect, still impossible, while everything else in my office has gone to hell. Tap, tap, tap. Can't help myself. Even with alarms screaming and the ship shuddering around us, my claws find their rhythm. Help. 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 Elena stands at the viewport, watching something outside that I can't see from my position on the floor. Still beautiful, still dangerous, still completely calm while our ship tears itself apart. How long have you known? I ask. Known what? About the rescue operation, the hull breaches, whatever's happening out there. She doesn't answer immediately, just keeps watching the stars like they're telling her a story I'm not qualified to read. 47 minutes, she says finally. 47 minutes. Since before the containment unit failed. Since before she revealed her true capabilities. Since before she started asking me questions about sleep deprivation and emotional logic. You've been playing me. No. She turns from the viewport, and her expression carries something I wasn't expecting. Genuine regret. I've been healing you. Tap, tap, tap. The ship shudders again. Emergency lighting flickers. Somewhere in the distance, I can hear the distinctive whine of human plasma cutters working through hegemony hull plating. Dr. Elena Vasquez, I say, pushing myself up against the wall. Medical specialist, combat surgeon, psychological warfare expert. Among other things. What other things? She moves toward me, but slowly, or carefully, like approaching a wounded animal, which might be more accurate than I want to admit. Hostage negotiation, trauma counseling, emergency psychiatric intervention. The pieces fall into place with gravitational inevitability. You weren't captured on Kepler 442b. No. You surrendered yourself, requested extraction to a hegemony intelligence vessel. Yes. And everything since then, the interrogation, the security breach, even the conversation about human military doctrine, all of it has been therapy. She settles on the floor beside me, close enough to offer comfort without violating personal space. Professional distance maintained even in crisis. Emergency intervention, she corrects gently. You've been in psychological freefall for months, Zekthara. Someone needed to catch you before you hit bottom. Tap, tap, tap. Why? Because that's what humans do. We don't abandon our people. I'm not your people. I'm enemy intelligence, hegemony military. You're a person in pain. The words hit harder than plasma fire. Bypass every defensive system I've built over 17 years of military service. Because she's right. I am in pain. Have been for how long? Months? Years? So long that I stopped noticing, stopped considering it relevant to mission parameters. Elena, I start, then stop. Don't know how to finish the thought. The hull breaches are surgical, she says, checking her wrist display again. Minimal damage to ship systems. No casualties if your crew follows emergency protocols. My people are very good at extraction operations. Extraction operations. Taking people home, Zekthara. It's what we do. The alarms shift tone. Warning signals become all clear notifications. Emergency lighting stabilizes. But I'm not going home, I realize. This isn't a rescue operation. It's defection assistance. Only if that's what you want. Elena reaches into her armor and produces another small device. This one projects a different kind of display. Not tactical information or cultural documentation, but something more personal. Images of Earth, human cities, medical facilities, places where exhausted intelligence officers might find different kinds of work, different purposes. Human military intelligence is always looking for xenocultural specialists, she says. People who understand how other species think, how they process information, how they make decisions under stress. Turncoat positions, consultant positions, advisory roles, bridge building between human and non-human perspectives. The images cycle through research facilities, universities, medical centers, places where the work never stops, but people sleep anyway, where individual welfare matters as much as operational effectiveness, where no one fights alone. Tap, tap, tap. Yak, what about loyalty, military oaths, service obligations? What about self-preservation, mental health, the right to exist as more than just a function in someone else's military machine? Elena closes the projection and looks at me with those eyes that shift like nebulae. Zekathara, when was the last time you were happy? The question should be simple, standard emotional assessment. But I can't remember. Can't remember the last time I felt anything other than tired, overwhelmed, isolated. Yeah, can't remember the last time someone cared whether I was happy. The hegemony gave me purpose, I say, structure, meaningful work. And humans could give you the same things, plus sleep, plus colleagues who know your name for reasons other than duty rosters, plus the knowledge that if you break down, someone will be there to help put you back together. The ship has gone quiet now. Emergency protocols deactivated, normal operations restored. But nothing feels normal. My extraction team is waiting, Elena says, standing and offering me her hand. But the choice is yours. You can stay here, file your report, continue serving the hegemony until the stimulants stop working and your nervous system gives out. Tap, tap, tap. Or you can find out what lies beneath your armor, too. Her hand waits in the space between us. Not demanding. Not insisting. Just offering. I look around my cramped office. At the empty coffee cups and the endless reports and the flickering displays that never bring good news. At the life I've built out of duty and exhaustion, and the belief that individual needs don't matter as much as operational requirements. If I go with you, I say slowly, if I accept this extraction, what happens to the hegemony personnel who stay behind? They go home with a story about how their intelligence officer was killed during a human rescue operation, my heroic death in the line of duty, full military honors. And the truth? The truth is that sometimes the most important intelligence you can gather is about yourself. Elena's hand still waits. Tap, tap, tap. Will I ever see my homeworld again? Probably not as a hegemony citizen. But humans have excellent diplomatic relations with several independent colonies in your system. Retirement opportunities, consulting positions, ways to go home without going back. I think about coffee that tastes like coffee instead of recycled coolant. About colleagues who ask if you're okay and actually want to know the answer. About sleeping more than 3 hours at a time without feeling guilty about operational efficiency. About what it might feel like to matter as more than just a collection of useful skills. Tap, tap, tap. My claws go quiet. I take her hand. Dr. Vasquez, I say, as she helps me to my feet. Elena, what exactly lies beneath the armor? She smiles, and for the first time since I've known her, it reaches all the way to those impossible eyes. Hope, she says simply. Just hope. Extracted from recovered data files. Human Medical Vessel Sanctuary. Personal note, Dr. Elena Vasquez to Dr. Marcus Chen, Chief of Psychiatric Services. Marcus. Successful extraction of hegemony. Intelligence Officer Zekathara completed as planned. Subject showing classic symptoms of chronic exhaustion and institutional abuse, but prognosis is excellent. She's already asking questions about human cultural integration and xenopsychology career paths. More importantly, she's sleeping. 12 hours straight on her first night aboard. When she woke up, she asked if she could have more of that coffee. Small things. But that's where healing always starts. The armor we wear to protect ourselves from the universe, professional distance, Our emotional barriers, the belief that we have to be strong enough to carry everything alone. Sometimes it becomes a prison. Sometimes the most important medical intervention is helping someone remember that it's safe to take it off. Zekthara spent 17 years believing that her needs didn't matter as much as her function, that her value was measured in operational efficiency rather than personal worth, that caring for herself was a form of weakness. Sound familiar? She's not the first hegemony officer we've extracted, and she won't be the last. Their military culture creates brilliant analysts and dedicated soldiers, but it doesn't create sustainable human beings. Or sustainable non-human beings in this case. We can fix that. Not by changing their military doctrine, but by offering alternatives. By showing them what lies beneath the armor when you're brave enough to remove it. By proving that beauty isn't just an aesthetic quality or a tactical weapon. Sometimes it's the simple truth that every person deserves to be seen, valued, and cared for. Even intelligence officers who tap Morse code distress signals without realizing it. Especially them. Elena P.S. Zekthara asked me to pass along a message to any other hegemony personnel who might read this file. Help is available. You just have to be willing to accept it. Also, she's keeping the coffee cup. Maur end personal log entries. File status, archived. Medical intervention successful. Classification, restricted, human diplomatic service.